Somewhere there are more dreams. Somewhere I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There are more dreams somewhere. There is more power somewhere. There is more power somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more power somewhere. You'll be safe here someday. You'll be safe here someday. We're gonna keep on till we find it. You'll be safe here someday.
Good morning. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Bradley, and I'm your service leader today. If you're with us on the internet, or if you're with us sitting in the chairs around me, we are one community united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. Today's service topic is building a new way. We are going to talk about what domestic abuse is, debunk some of the myths we hear about it, and begin exploring some of the ways our church can support survivors by creating a safe space for survivors to heal and an accountable space for abusers. In addition to what you hear today, there are informational resources about trauma and domestic abuse, as well as practical resources for people who are surviving domestic abuse in the order of service. Please silence your cell phones, and please respect the fragrance-free zone. We have activity bags by the welcome table for any of our younger friends who might need something to do during the service. Just make sure to leave them back at the welcome table when the service ends. We also have a nursery for ages 10 and under on the lower level. There is no lesson for all ages today, so you can take your kids down to the nursery at any time that you'd like. If you are new to this church, those who greeted you can help show you the location of the nursery. We'll be addressing some hard but important topics around domestic abuse today and acknowledge that they can be triggering for some people. We do not have childcare for children older than 10, but if you need to step out for any reason during the service, you are welcome to do that. Please take care of your needs and your family's needs. Kai Hudgens-Smith, a local therapist with a strong interest in church trauma, will be available in the RE building up the hill for aftercare if anyone would like to talk with her after the service. In addition, Reverend Tiffany invites any who need pastoral care after the service to reach out to her by calling the church office or emailing her at minister@hvuuc.org. Our services are recorded and are on YouTube, so if you do need to step out, you can still watch the service online. And please stay home if you're sick.
Today we are talking about domestic abuse, and we are being very intentional about calling it domestic abuse rather than domestic violence or domestic assault. When we hear the words violence or assault, we imagine battering, someone physically beating or choking or shoving another person. However, survivors of domestic abuse often say the physical violence is easier to deal with than gaslighting and other types of mental and emotional abuse that warp your perceptions of reality and unbuild you. Domestic abuse includes physical violence, but it also includes neglect, sexual, mental, and emotional abuse, and economic and social isolation and control. Domestic abuse is one person seeking to manipulate and control another person, by any means at hand. And it is important to remember that abusers show one face to their targets and another to the rest of the world. Domestic abuse is never finished. A survivor lives with the trauma of the abuse for the rest of their life. Survivors can recover their sense of safety, their sense of self, their ability to discern reality, and when something triggers them, reminds them of the trauma in a visceral way, that safety, certainty, and reality can fly out the window. Domestic abuse has immediate mental, social, economic, and sometimes physical effects. But abuse is trauma, and trauma can have lifelong effects, including significantly increasing the risk of many chronic health conditions and even shortening the life of the traumatized person. A few more notes about language. People are not victims of domestic abuse. They are targets of abusers. They survive abuse. They are survivors, or they aren't. Domestic abuse is not something that happens. It is something that people do. We will be using ungendered language throughout the service because people of any gender can be the targets of abusers, but we would like to acknowledge that queer folks, people of color, children, and women are the most frequent targets of domestic abusers because they are among the most vulnerable people in our society. Thank you for being with us as we begin this work.
Before we begin, let us light our chalice with the words in our vision statement. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder.
Slide 5 malfunctions.
It's fine. We welcome you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our community. Whether today's your first or your 1,000th Sunday with us, we are stronger because of your presence. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows through using these candle cards, if you are with us in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hvuuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card read aloud in the service, which is being broadcast publicly on YouTube. I have no cards today, so we'll go ahead and begin the candle lighting. If you wish to light your own candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closest candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over an open flame. If you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will ensure a candle is lit for your intention. Our community is so much larger than just those of us who are in the building this morning, so we light a large candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts and minds. light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
My name is Nix, and I use she, her pronouns. In your order of service, there is a blank card, and there are pencils at the end of each row. Please pass the pencils to your neighbors. During this time of quiet reflection, I would like for you to think of a time when you felt unsafe for any reason. On your card, please write 3 words you would use to describe that feeling. We will have just a minute of quiet for you to think and ponder, and then Maxine Poole and James will perform Quiet by Milk while we collect the cards.
Put on your face, know your place. Shut up and smile. Don't spread your legs. I could do that, but no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, if I just lie still, would I be that monster, scare them all away? If I let them hear what I have to say, I can't keep quiet, no, I can't keep quiet, no. One woman riot, no, no, I can't keep quiet for anyone, no, not anymore, 'cause no one knows me, no one ever will. If I don't say something, take that dry blue pill, would I be that monster? Would they run away? But I have to do this. I can't keep quiet, no, no, I can't keep quiet, no. One woman riot, no, no, I can't keep quiet. keep quiet.
Imagine you're at home alone, in a room, waiting for a phone call. A call to complete an intake questionnaire with a doctor you've never met. He's late. 15 minutes later, and the phone finally rings. You go through some pretty basic questions. You've done these before. Family history of mental illness. Personal history of mental illness. And then this cold stranger asks, have you ever been involved in a relationship in which you've experienced domestic violence? And before you have the time to say no, because no partner has ever laid a finger on you before, because you've diligently prepared for that basically your entire life, he quickly adds, domestic violence also includes any threats of violence, both physical and psychological. So you stop dead in your tracks. You look to your right, and you see the small section of wall between your front door and your window. You know that behind your keys and your decor is a crushed piece of sheetrock from a partner for more than 10 years before punched a hole in your wall. Because all you did was pick up the mail, and in doing this expected routine activity, you accidentally ruined his Christmas present surprise for you that year. And then another day, you don't remember why, he got mad, and whatever set him off that day caused him to punch a hole in an old door under your carport. Then you remember days where he was angry with you in the car and decided that he was going to drive recklessly around the twists and turns of a mountain to scare you into submission. Then you remember your last partner with similar behaviors, but for some reason, even now, you don't even think of the sexual assault you experienced when you were in high school, because that person was just supposed to be your friend. You weren't actually in a relationship with him. And then you remember a time on an otherwise normal day, he makes a passing comment that reveals this huge lie told at the very beginning of your relationship. And this lie was the only reason you even agreed to begin a relationship in the first place. And this lie meant that your futures were actually aligned, like you wanted the same things. So in this moment, you ask, this is not what you told me the day we decided to be together. And this question then sparks an hour-long gaslighting session where you were told over and over, never once did I say that. You're remembering this wrong. You have no idea what you're talking about. And when you refuse to back down because you know what happened, you were there, he then says, everyone says things that they want their partner to hear when you first get into a relationship. And that leads into another berating session for an hour, saying that you're just living in a fantasy and dreaming of a Disney fairy tale that will never come true. So unrealistic. Then as you consider all the significant relationships of your adult life, nearly all of them had domestic abuse in one form or another. So in 45 seconds, on the phone, with a stranger, your entire reality collapses, and you answer simply, yes. And with that one simple word, no medical professional will ever see you the same way again. With that one simple word, you won't ever see yourself the same way again either. Imagine.
There is more love somewhere. I am Lenore, and I use she, her pronouns. Imagine believing that no one else will love you because your abuser tells you so. Imagine they tell you that no one will believe you, that your lived experience never happened, or that it didn't happen the way you remember. Imagine they convince your loved ones, your friends, your family, your children, that their story is the truth. How difficult is it when the world around you tells you that your reality and their reality are not the same? How do you process that, and how do you know what to believe? And when you finally have the ability and the support to leave that situation, how do you remove yourself from contact with the person abusing you? Here's the reality. Leaving is a trauma. It uproots your normal. It can be dangerous. Being on constant alert, worrying that your abuser will find you and will continue the abuse. To file an order of protection in Tennessee, the party seeking protection must demonstrate, quote, an immediate and present danger of abuse to the petitioner. In this definition, abuse means physical violence. While survivors can file a temporary restraining order for emotional and mental abuse, this is rarely upheld at a hearing and often angers the abuser, spurring more abuse. Even with proof of and witnesses to violent verbal abuse, harassment, and threatening texts, the police cannot do anything until your abuser physically harms you. It costs $3,000 to have a lawyer on retainer, and legal aid doesn't help in cases of non-physical violence due to lack of resources. When your abuser hacks your social media accounts to stalk you and sabotage your career and friendships, police say there is nothing you can do. When your abuser waits in their car for you to pass and follows you across town, that is not legally defined as stalking. While all this happens, you worry about what your abuser will do to the pets you had to leave behind. You worry your abuser will commit suicide because they threatened to. And you worry your abuser will pick up your kids from school and never come back because they threatened that too. And the school will not put your abuser on a do not pick up list without a court order that you can't get because he hasn't yet physically harmed you or the kids. But the reality is that psychological abuse often becomes physical abuse in time. When we discuss domestic abuse, the first thought is typically of physical violence. While physical violence is prevalent, horrific, and sometimes deadly, survivors frequently say that the emotional manipulation and abuse was longer lasting than the fear of violence. When your entire reality is questioned, that stays with you, and that is why we say domestic abuse. Because it's more than physical violence. It is mental and emotional abuse, sexual coercion, isolation, economic abuse, and gaslighting. Threatening to harm themselves if you do not do what they say, and saying it would be your fault. Restricting or monitoring your time with your support system. Requiring that they handle all the money. Embarrassing or putting you down in front of people you care about. Telling you that they are the reason you are worth something. You are processing a lot. You need a safe space to do it, and you need a lot of support. You are trying to find solid ground, rebuild yourself, rediscover what is real. You are carrying so much, but your trusted community does not have a system in place to help you. You relive your trauma every time you share your story. You re-experience your trauma when you find out that the law cannot protect you, that even the place you are staying might not be safe, and that your abuser has access to you at church, and your faith community just doesn't know how to help. Love is supporting one another. Love is taking the time to fully understand the wide range of domestic abuse situations. Love is doing hard work rather than throwing our hands up in despair. Love of survivors is creating a safe space, and love of abusers is encouraging them to take responsibility for their actions and experience consequences. We can do love.
There is more trust somewhere. My name is Sophia, and I use she, her pronouns. Let's start with a poll. Raise your hand if you know every person in this congregation who has experienced domestic abuse. Did you know that almost half of all women and men in the U.S. have experienced psychological aggression by an intimate partner in their lifetime? By the numbers, it is likely that many of us, maybe even a majority of us, have experienced some form of domestic abuse as either children, partners, or parents of an abuser. That means many of us have experienced religious abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, mental and emotional abuse, or physical abuse. And as you just saw, we don't know who all they are, and that's okay. That is information that a survivor can share with us if they choose or not share with us. And that's why it's important for any organization to know how to respond effectively to abuse in its midst. We never know who the survivors are, but when we effectively respond to the needs of one survivor, we avoid re-traumatizing all other survivors. Domestic abuse also includes societal abuse, which are systems that neglect the needs of survivors due to cultural myths and misinformation. We don't want to be that system. It is hard enough because abusers show that one face to their targets and another to the world. Abusers often are survivors of abuse as well, and we want to help them. After all, as HVUUC, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and we want to invite people back into covenant with us. The thing is, though, abusers, whatever form of abuse they use, are not affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of their targets, and they are not truly seeking to come back into covenant. They are sorry they no longer control their targets. We can support both survivors and abusers with love and compassion, but it looks very different in each case according to a panel of domestic abuse professionals who work with communities of Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, and Christian faiths. For survivors, we must create physical and emotional safety. They need a place to sit that doesn't make them feel vulnerable. They need people to believe in them. They need to be able to make choices and receive support from their church community. And they need to know their abuser cannot access them and continue the abuse at church. This gives survivors their power back, helps them rediscover their resilience, and regain their sense of reality. On the other hand, the panel said, we need to encourage abusers to take accountability for their actions, true accountability. And we need to accept that it might not happen and that this is not an us problem. We offer resources to the abuser and create healthy boundaries that support the survivors. We ask for and support positive changes of behavior over time. This behavior change might not mean the person can return to the congregation, but encouraging this change helps an abuser heal and creates healthier future relationships. This can seem overwhelming, but we don't have to do it all at once. This is a process. We just have to start. We need to be intentional, acknowledging when we don't do well, and being humble when we do. This is work we must do transparently, publicly, and with help and input from the congregation. And we don't know everything, so we can seek outside help when necessary. When HVUUC successfully serves one survivor, we send a message that our church is a safe space where we believe survivors and prioritize their needs. We are trustworthy, a true community.
There are more dreams somewhere. Hi, I'm Don. I use he, him pronouns. Whole faith traditions struggle with the question of how to address domestic abuse. What do their sources say? Which translations of which sources? Is abuse a matter of evil, weakness, or is there a moral obligation to address abuse, or is abuse just a test to overcome? Christian communities seek to shift dogma, reinterpreting scripture that has been used to justify abandoning survivors to their abusers for decades or more. Jewish communities struggle to reconcile Ishon Hara, I hope, the idea of speaking critical about someone with Tikkun Olam, or the healing of the world. And the greater Unitarian Universalist community offers a vague suggestion. Abusers should maintain a 20-foot distance from their target when they come to church, which is neither practical nor trauma-informed. There is no clear roadmap. But just as we use multiple sources to guide in our search for the truth and meaning, we can use multiple sources to guide us in serving survivors and abusers. We can learn how law enforcement is allowed to respond to various types of domestic abuse and what they wish they could do. We can learn how other faith traditions respond to domestic abuse in their communities. We can investigate various nonprofit and for-profit organizations due to support survivors they employ. And we can live in our vision. We can take action in our church by creating policies and creating a safe space for survivors. We can take action in our community by supporting organizations that serve survivors and work with them to change how we respond to domestic abuse in our state. And we can take action in our world by sharing what we learn so others, including those within the Unitarian Universalist Association, have a better roadmap than we do. We definitely won't be perfect. We probably won't get it all done at once, but we will be moving forward and in the right direction.
There is more power somewhere. Faith communities of all kinds struggle with addressing domestic abuse in their midst, and faith communities of all kinds have so much power. The power to heal, the power to inspire hope, the power to serve, to lead from behind. They also have the power to harm, the power to coerce, and the power to shame. Just ask some of our members with church trauma. Nothing a faith community does is without consequences. When a faith community minimizes survivor voices, worries about what visitors will think or how hard it is, or thinks someone else should address the problem, individuals fail to grow and the community suffers from neglect. It harms survivors and empowers abusers. It literally takes the power away from survivors and hands it directly to the people who abuse them. When a faith community pours love and dreams and trustworthiness into its work around domestic abuse, when it's willing to learn, to make mistakes and grow, when it recognizes oppressive systems and says, not us, not here, that community is learning to use its power wisely. And don't get me wrong, this is hard work, and it's complicated work, and it's really important. Rewriting our policies might be difficult, and it can be hard to find examples of better policies. We might think that the police can solve the problem, but dealing with the police isn't safe for everyone, and police options are limited by laws that haven't kept up with the current understanding and realities of domestic abuse. We might think that people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but there's so many moving parts like money and pets and kids and shelter and love in deciding to leave an abusive partner, especially when that abuse has led you to question your entire reality. So, what's a faith community to do? How can we share power with survivors? Well, a faith community like HVUUC can do a lot. We can believe survivors and remind them that they can believe themselves. We can create safe physical spaces where survivors can see all of the exits. We can create safe emotional spaces where survivors know what they can expect. We can listen and truly hear survivors when they tell us what they want and need. And we can challenge our misconceptions and actively and intentionally build a new way. One person cannot do it all. Two people cannot do it all. But a group of dedicated people can do this together, transforming themselves, our community, and our world. They might not get everything right, and people might need to step up or step out. It will probably take time, and that's all okay. We are still better together and better moving forward. Let's work together to build a new way. Let's create community where survivors can take back their power and where they can count on support from the whole congregation, where they, their friends, and family and congregation are safe. I'll be safe here someday. I'll be safe here someday. I'm gonna keep on till it happens. And I'll be safe here someday.
When I felt unsafe, I also felt fear of ambush, unwanted, sad, yucky, trapped, scared, afraid of violence, paralyzed, gone. Fear of kidnapping, numb, unimportant, lost. Fear of rape, less than, angry, different, smaller, terrified, unsafe, out of control, powerless, confused, afraid of racism, ashamed, betrayed, hurt, altered, threatened, unheard, vulnerable, unwanted, determined, vulnerable, worried, unneeded, anxious, worthless, isolated, unnerved, afraid of being alone, depressed, frustrated, insecure, unloved, alone, not enough, unprotected, this ends now, afraid of death, hopeless, and afraid of being stranded. These are the lived experiences of this congregation.
Now we're going to invite Jess and the HVUUC band to perform Rise by Katy Perry. When we create a safe community, this is how survivors can feel when they take back and live in their power.
I won't just survive. No, you will see me thrive. Can't write my story. I'm beyond the archetype. I won't just conform. No matter how you shake my core, 'cause my roots, they run deep. Oh ye of so little faith, don't doubt it, don't doubt it. Victory is in your veins. You know it, and I will not negotiate. I'll fight it, I'll fight it, I will transform. 'Cause when the fire's at my feet again, and the vultures all start circling, again. Don't be surprised, I will still rise. I must stay conscious through the madness and chaos, so I call on my angels. They say, oh ye of so little faith, don't doubt it, don't doubt it. Victory is in my veins. I know it, and I will not negotiate. I'll fight it, I'll fight it. I will transform. 'Cause when the fire's at my feet again, and the vultures all start circling, they're whispering, you're out of time, but still I rise. This is no mistake, no accident. When you think the final nail is in, think again. Don't be surprised, I will still rise. Still rise. Don't be surprised, I will still rise.
Desmond Tutu was an anti-apartheid activist and Anglican bishop. He said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. As we extinguish the chalice, I invite you all to commit to helping this church continue to move toward justice.
Hi, my name is Kaya Hudgens Smith. I use she, they pronouns, and I am a clinical counselor at ETSU. I lead a deconstruction group there and assist in helping clients explore religious trauma and spiritual abuse as part of their healing process. Research indicates that religious trauma and spiritual abuse presents as complex PTSD. So as a clinician, I choose to broach their experiences with people in the church as part of their treatment. After the service, I will be available up the hill in the RE building for anyone who might, through today's sermon, feel overwhelmed, sad, angry, or completely confused. I hope to offer at least 10 to 15 minutes to each person who needs extra support today, and I will be leaving at 1 p.m.
Thank you for being with us today. If you or someone you love is being abused, there are local resources that can support you. You can reach out to Branch House in Sullivan County or the Family Justice Center in Washington County. And if you do not live in Sullivan County or Washington County, these organizations can connect you with organizations that can help survivors in your area. This Sunday, and the next Sunday, there are some sheets of paper taped to the walls of the Fred Ballroom. If you walk into the Fred Ballroom and you go to the area where there's all the tables, up against this fake wall right here, there's a big piece of paper. The Garden Club wants your input on how you want the garden to look. And so if you have thoughts and opinions, you share it on that little paper there up against this fake wall. All these beautiful early spring flowers around the congregation and in our yard mean that it must be getting time for a flower communion. On Sunday, April the 14th, everyone will be invited to bring their own flower to share in this ceremony that celebrates the beauty of our community. So bring your flower on April 14th. Our annual congregational meeting will be held on Sunday, April the 28th, immediately following the church service in the sanctuary. Childcare will be provided. Anyone who has been an official member of the church for at least 60 days as of April the 28th is eligible to vote in the meeting. Items on the agenda will include a vote on adding a new trustee's position to the board, a vote on next year's nominees for the Board of Trustees, and a vote on next year's budget. If you want to add something to the agenda, please email president@hvuuc.org by April 8th, which is tomorrow. So email the president tomorrow. And make sure you submit your email in the form of a motion. So for example, if you want it where we have a policy that biscotti is always served with coffee during coffee hour, you would write the email, I move that biscotti is always served during coffee hour. Like, that's the email you would send. If you can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together by visiting our website, HVUUC.org, and checking out our news and events sections. Many of the members of the congregation you have seen during the service are working together in a grassroots effort to figure out how our church can help survivors of domestic abuse, and as an organization and as a community. If you would like to build a new way with them, please email safehere@hvuuc.org. I thought we were not going to have coffee hour today because I got an email saying that someone got sick and we couldn't have coffee hour. But surprise, surprise, people stepped up. So make sure when you have your coffee, you say thank you to those people who stepped up to help. Our closing hymn is Building a New Way, number 1017 in the thin teal hymnal. This is also when we will be passing out the offering plate. The contributions that you make to us during this offering supports the ways that we can build each other up within this community, and also gives us the resources we need to stretch out into the wider world to make a positive impact. If you're making a pledge payment, please mark it as such. And thank you so much for your contributions. Please rise with us in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Building a New Way, number 1017 in the teal hymnal, verses 1, 2, and 4 only.
We are building on your way. We are building on your way. We are building on your way. It's a stronger every day. We are building on your way.
Israel Moore Ivor, a Ghanaian author and blogger, wrote, "What people see you do may not be remembered. What they hear you say might be forgotten. But how they feel your intervention in their times of need will be forever remembered." As is our tradition, may we find better ways to intervene in times of need by seeking truth in many places and using it to create a safer, more compassionate space in our church, in our community, and in our world.